My name is Walter Murch. I'm the writer and director of Return to Oz. I wrote the script along with Gil Dennis, and it was based on two of the Oz books, Ozma of Oz and Land of Oz, which were sequels that L. Frank Baum wrote to his original Wizard of Oz. I'm in Paris at the Cinematheque, and many of the machines that you see around me were made at the same time as the story of Oz was being told, which is right around the turn of the 19th to the 20th century. So this feels particularly appropriate given the subject matter of Return to Oz.
I mean, my life just changed utterly. It went from being a little kid who lives in Vancouver and goes to school to, working on a movie for over a year, and then years of press touring and support for the film. And it was just a massive, massive process, and I knew how lucky I was. I knew how beyond lucky I was to have that job.
I had worked with Rusa from the earliest casting when we went to Disney to try to find our final, all the way through the end of the movie and beyond when we did the looping, and beyond that because we had become friends. And Rusa is a force of nature. You don't work with Rusa as much as you try to contain her, because she was like a spring. She was always interested in this or that. She was in one way a natural, but she's an actress. She has a really big internal life she accesses when she's acting.
Fairuza is a fantastic actress. I couldn't imagine anyone better in that role. We looked at 1,200 young girls, women, 9, 10 years old, all over the United States and Canada, and Fairuza became the Dorothy.
Sometimes the producers won't allow an actor to do their own stunts if there's a slightest possibility that the actor is going to get hurt, even if it's not the actor's fault. It means that we lose her for production. She liked to do most of what she could do, but sometimes it wasn't always practical.
Well, they had me on wires, and it's the part where she falls out of the sky. And so they had me on these wires and in this harness, and they pull you up, 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 and I was like, whoa, it's really high. And we did a bunch of tests, and my mother was, of course, absolutely just, I can't even watch this. She's freaking out, because it's her baby, and they're, dropping me over and over again from the ceiling. We did it many, many times. And there was one time where my heel kind of got caught a little bit, and it kind of twisted my ankle a bit. But I was a kid with a very strong work ethic, and I would not complain. I was not, I could have broken my foot and I would have been like, I'm fine, I'm ready to go. But it was a little sore, but it was, mistakes happen, and they did take really good care of me. I mean, they tested and retested everything, and like every effort was made to ensure my safety. So I felt very well taken care of and very well looked after. Like, I never felt afraid, on set.
Even with the water scenes and all that, did you feel comfortable with it?
I was afraid of that.
There was one scene in particular that I was most uncomfortable about, was when they escape from Worley's clinic. The two girls have to cross a raging river, which we built on the stage at Elstree, and we had several divers there with that scene, because even though it was a stage set and the water wasn't very deep, we wanted to make sure that the girls would get into no trouble at all, because we were using artificial pumps to move the water across the stage, and it could carry you away quite easily because the pressure of the water. So we spent a lot of time on that scene to make sure that it was it looked good, it looked dramatic, and it looked dangerous, but actually it wasn't.
It was very intense. They built a river that was big, and there were these huge pipes with that the water would come rushing out of, and they put dye in it so that, or powder or whatever, so that it would look like a muddy river in a storm. I was nervous about drowning. I was nervous I would get caught or something would go wrong, and you know, again, they had divers in there. They had everything to make sure that I would be all right. But my dress did get caught at one point on one of the pipes, and I did get held under for a few seconds, a little bit more than a few seconds, and I panicked, and it was very scary because when in the water, when there's whatever powder or dye in it, you can't see anything, so you don't know which way is up and which way is down, and because of the current, like normally when you go under, your body would naturally come up to the top, but when you have giant jets moving your body, you don't know which way is up, and you're blind because of the stuff in the water. But the stuntman got the dress off of the thing and got me up and got me out. But I was pretty flipped out after that. I think that was the last day. And my mom was like, that's it. She's going home. We're done. We're going. You know, and I was like, oh, Mom, I'm okay. I'm all right. And she was like, nope. We're good. Thank you very much. We're done, everybody. And you know, so that was intense, shall we say. But at the same time, it wasn't really that bad.
I was fired from the film. Disney got mad, I guess, because we were going over schedule. So 5 weeks into shooting, after Freddie Francis left and after the first assistant director had been fired by the studio, then I was fired.
Can you imagine the burden? Your first film is one of the most intricate, at that time, special effects kind of movies, and you've never stepped on the floor as a director. You know film as well as anybody, but you've never been in the shoes of a director where every 5 seconds there's a question. Somebody's coming up to you, shall I make it left? Should I do it right? Shall we put a dolly? And you can overload quickly. And if you can imagine a pre-production period in which there was pressures from the studio about the finance of the picture and this and that.
Interesting times, though. Really interesting thing. And you know, the film was just sitting there right at the crossroads of some pretty heavy Hollywood politics.
The original books had these magic slippers, but they were made of silver. And when the Technicolor version of Wizard of Oz was made in 1939, they thought, it's color, it has to be colorful, it has to be red, ruby. So that was the invention of the screenwriters on The Wizard of Oz, and it's such a powerful, iconic image that in that case, I decided, even in writing the screenplay, I said it just has to be, they have to be ruby slippers.
We had to pay some kind of a royalty to use them, but it never seemed like it was difficult.
The shoes themselves had these tiny, tiny red mirrors. They're actual mirrors, but they were sprayed with like a chromium red. And so they really reflected the light very well.
I only wore them when the camera was rolling, because every time I would walk, the little rubies would come off. I would wear them in the scene, and then the second that they said cut, wardrobe would run out and take them off of my feet and re-glue the rubies, and then when I'd walk back to starting, they'd put them back on my starting mark, then they'd put them back on my feet, and we'd do it over and over like this. And I wanted to wear them all the time because they were beautiful and I loved them, and I was like, why do they keep taking my shoes off? It was driving me crazy because when you're little, you love pretty things and shiny things, and I wanted to wear them all the time. I wanted to take them home. No, they had to stay at work. So I definitely understood that they were special, for sure.
Well, being a wheeler was physically very challenging. It's pretty challenging just being on all fours all the time, but with wheels on all four, that really was quite challenging.
These were extremely fit gymnasts, they had a wheel on a pole attached to each leg and each arm. And I don't know how they did it, stand up straight, let alone learn how to ride these things in unison and in perfect lines all over the countryside and the set.
I worked a lot on the development of how to make it actually work. I'd been very involved with all the animatronic engineers on Greystoke on the development of all the costumes. So I knew all of those quite well. So I came on board to actually try and work out with one of the other wheelers from Los Angeles called Pons Ma.
Pons was just such a great actor, and he was just all over the place as the lead wheeler.
The specifics of the performing the wheeler, to a large degree, Walter just told me, be that guy that I saw on stage. The physical part of it, though, was very interesting. You know, it's like, how are we even going to perform this? Is this going to have to be some kind of cable rig, or are they going to have to build some kind of an odd platform that we just lay on top of to support ourselves?
Together, him and me with the animatronic engineers took on the task of working out how we were going to try and make this work with wheels on all four limbs, and which nobody had ever done before.
John Stevenson, who'd been head of the mechanics on Dark Crystal and helped me worked with me on developing the Landstrider, which is also a four-legged creature that's on stilts, it's raised above the ground. He called me in to try to see whether the four-wheeled creature would work. And when I got there and we looked at it, we didn't really think it would work. It wasn't obvious that it could be done.
I just loved doing Bellina, and I loved to play another chicken.
I mean, this score was quite unusual in the totality of my scores. It was always the kind of picture I wanted that would have multiple themes. And Walter and I decided early on that we wanted a score which should be like Peter and the Wolf.
I think that it transports people into that world, and that's a wonderful thing, because the world could really use a lot more magic.